Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Babbling Irons match preview with myself and Sloth today. Big game, 3 games left, Sloth. Chelsea away. Could have meant so much more if we were realistically still in with that European contention, which we do still have a chance of doing technically, but it's pretty much done. But, Chelsea away, it's always a big match, always one where we struggle to get something from Stamford Bridge. Especially wins. We obviously had that one recently when David Martin was in goal, and we got that 1-0 win. But other than that, we haven't had too much success. And David Moyes himself has never won away at Chelsea as a manager. I'm pretty sure, especially not in his last, I don't know how many tries. So he'll be looking to end that record.
I think it's 17. I could be wrong.
Something like that. It's it's a pretty long record, but Chelsea have started to come into a bit of form. They've had a bit of an up and down start, so up and down finish to the season. But yeah, we're going to break it down, give our realistic opinion. 3 games left of the season now, still a lot to play for Chelsea, and also we want to spoil the party. We want to be finished as high as we possibly can, and if we want to finish above Chelsea this season, this is a must-win game. They obviously put a lot into that Spurs game on Thursday night. So just a little bit of an overview before we get into the breakdown and tactical side of things. This is how it currently looks. So obviously Chelsea slightly above us, I should say 61. Apologies for the points. Goals scored 65 compared to our 56, and goals conceded 59 compared to our 65. And they're only one spot above us now. We have slipped down to 9th because of that result. Interestingly, though, when you look at the kind of expected statistics behind it, we're kind of at two polar opposites. Chelsea should realistically be performing a lot better than where they have done this season, and I think that's probably the general consensus across Chelsea fans. They just haven't been able to score a lot of goals. Their expected points is 57.38, and you look at ours on that side. I mean, our expected position right now is 17th. Like, expected to concede 70 goals, only 50 scored, and 38 points. I mean, that is pretty damning stuff if you look at it that way.
It's pretty shocking, isn't it? Really, I think when you look at that, it's kind of, especially the form this year in 2024.
Yeah,
it's been pretty abysmal, and it's such a shame that we've tailed off like this. We're not going to go into why, but it was at one point it was looking pretty strong for us to get that European football spot, but it seems to have tailed off, and I think Chelsea will be quietly confident. We got to hope they are going to be a bit hungover from Thursday, much like we often were, but it's a shame. And when you look at where we should be, that should be telling a lot of West Ham fans and wider football fans quite why we're as unhappy as we are at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's very damning. I think in 2024, especially if we filtered that to 2024, we'd probably be even lower on the expected statistics side of things. So, yeah, I think it's been a frustrating end, like you say. We could be going into this match with so much to play for, but frustratingly, we just haven't been able to get over the line this year in important games where we should be winning and should be picking up points. So that's been the frustration of our season. Chelsea, on the other hand, Sloth they've had a mixed season. They obviously didn't have any European competition to focus on. Pochettino's come in. They're trying to integrate and play with a large squad. They've had a lot of injuries to deal with. That is one thing I will say. I think they've got currently 14 players injured, and it looks like a couple might be back for us, like Nkunku, which is great. Great timing as always. But they've been recently, their form's been pretty good. They obviously came close against Man City in the semi-final. They obviously came close in the final against Liverpool. So domestic cup competitions, they actually did pretty well. Just didn't get over the line in either of them. So for them, it's imperative that they get European football next season, and not Conference League. I'm talking at least Europa League for them, with the money they've spent. And realistically, they should be they should be pushing Champions League, but they just haven't been able to do it. But it looks like they're starting to get a little bit of a rhythm. That, to be honest, because of the injuries, they've actually had a little bit of a settled starting 11 the past kind of couple months or so, which has probably benefited them. The likes of Madueke, who you mentioned, is a player you liked. Obviously, Cole Palmer's one behind Haaland for the Premier League goal scoring tally this season, and he's been fantastic for them. You've then got Mudryk, who is starting to slightly improve for them and show a little bit of what he's worth. And then Jackson just can't hit a barn door, so he'll probably be bagging a few goals against us. But they're starting to settle. And how do you assess Chelsea so far this season stuff? Because they're just so difficult to judge right now.
It all depends on what Chelsea turn up, because they are an incredibly talented bunch of footballers. You know, you don't have players like Enzo Fernandez, Mudryk, Cole Palmer, you know, even Gallagher, and the sheer amount of centre backs and defenders they have as well, and not on paper expect to be pushing for Champions League spots. We have mentioned the injuries. I still think that that's a bit of a cop out, to be honest. I think they, if you'd asked any Chelsea fan this season where they should be finishing, the minimum I think any of them would have said is 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
Bare minimum. And I think it's been a really interesting mix of players underperforming, like we mentioned with Mudryk. Even Nicholas Jackson's just massively underperforming his XG. And even poor transfers and injury spells. You know, we, on paper, the business they did in the summer, whether it's with Caicedo and young Southampton player whose name has completely escaped me.
Lavia, yeah.
Lavia, that's it. Who, you know, they both on paper should have been fantastic signings.
Yeah.
Lavia's unfortunately been a long-term injury issue, and Caicedo, you know, I would argue is probably contender for worst signing of the season, just based on his performances.
He started to pick up recently. The last few performances, he's played pretty well. But yeah, for the price tag, it's crazy.
But yeah, for the price tag, I think they are a very quick counter-attacking side at the moment. You know, even when you just have Mudryk on the counter, that's a threat. But when you have Madueke, when you have players like Palmer who are able to play a fantastic ball through, or even just follow up into the box and they know when to arrive, it is something that we're going to have to be very wary of.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, in the reverse fixture, we managed to beat them 3-1 with 10 men as well. I remember that day they missed a penalty. I think that was when Caicedo first played for Chelsea, came off the bench and was just awful for them. So it didn't happen for them on that day. I think with Chelsea, what I think the work that Pochettino's done has slightly gone a little bit underrated, just because of the environment he's gone into, the squad he's dealing with. The talk about Chelsea right now is it must be very difficult to deal with, and I think he's starting to get the message across to his players now of how he wants to set up. Against Tottenham, they were flexible, and in the second half, they were happy to be sort of defensively rigid, allow Tottenham to have like 60-70% of possession, and then pick them off when they needed to. And I think that's something we need to be very wary of going into this game, because if we concede the first goal, they can happily do that. They don't need to just dominate possession for possession's sake. They'll happily sit in. And like you say, Mudryk on the break, Madueke on the break, Palmer playing the passes in the pockets. You've got Gallagher pressing. You've got Jackson running behind. They've got a lot of pace and a lot of scary players to deal with on that transition. Something we also have, and we're going to have to utilize to our advantage. So I think in terms of the approach for this one, Sloth, is it very much same old, same old? We're going to have to maybe give up a little bit of possession for Chelsea, try to be very resilient and pick our moments when we can.
I think it's never going to be anything but that with Moyes, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but you just know what you're going to get. You know he's going to set up his stall, especially against these top clubs. You know, it's why he has such a bad record against Chelsea, is because they know what he's going to do at Stamford Bridge, I should say, especially going away. You tend to know what he's going to do. How
would you approach it if you were manager? How would you approach going to Stamford Bridge with this current Chelsea team and the way our current team is set up?
I think at the moment it's very much a case of just trying to press Chelsea and force them into errors. And I think if we can let Bowen and Kudus lead that press, Antonio as well, charge them down, I think that's where you're going to see results, because we know that their defence isn't the strongest at times, which may sound rich coming from West Ham, but
Yeah.
it is a case that, these are two different defensively frail at times. They're susceptible sides, and if we can have the press of Bowen, Antonio, and Kudus, with Paqueta able to follow up and get stuck in, pick out the passes that can play in them, I think that's the best way to do it. I'm a bit nervous about us standing off, because the difference between them and us is that they have a number of incredibly talented players that can pick out that pass. They can play or beat the man, however many times, take them on, skin them. But we don't have that option in depth, whereas they do. And if we just try and sit back and soak up all that pressure for 90 minutes, I think that they have a better chance of doing something over the 90 minutes than we do.
100%. I think like you say, I think the biggest importance we're going to have going into this game is Edson Alvarez. I mean, we've said it so many times, but Cole Palmer in particular, when he gets in those pockets of spaces, it's danger, because he has runners either side. His link up with Madueke, despite what happened with the penalty and stuff with him and Jackson and Madueke the other day, is very good on the pitch. They actually interchange very well on that right hand side. They've got a very good chemistry on the pitch now. And Madueke again is a player that's just growing in confidence, still only young, but he's actually looking to beat players and make impactful decisions in the final third. Still pretty raw. Him and Mudryk as well. I mean, their finishing as well needs to improve, but Cole Palmer's just been fantastic for them. And Jackson as well. He will cause problems if he doesn't score goals anyway. He is that type of striker. So we have to be very careful. I agree with you in that we need to take the game a little bit to Chelsea. I mean, we really, realistically, what do we have to lose at this point? So it'll be interesting to see David Moyes' mindset on it with probably most likely 3 games left of his West Ham career. So does he change things up? Does he continue with the same pattern? I guess we'll find out. In terms of the lineup, Sloth, would you stick with a back 4? And who would you play in that midfield 3 if you had to pick 3 players?
I think you've got to go Alvarez, Souček, and Paqueta. I think they've looked really sharp at times when they've played as the 3. And if we want to try and keep a bit of momentum and energy, then after 70 minutes, you can bring James Ward-Prowse on to provide that, like we kind of did against Wolves. But I think it's going to be a tricky one. Essentially Moyes is playing to go out on a good wind. He probably, his time's probably up. So he's going, if you go out with three wins under your belt from the final 3, at least he's going to be able to, go down swinging and be able to say, look, I won your last 3 games. What are you doing? But it's, I would pick them as my 3. I think they're a physical, hard-working 3, and I think that's what we need, particularly against Chelsea, somewhat diminutive players, particularly in Enzo Fernandez. We can get at him and hopefully, get that press working hard.
Yeah, I agree. I think defensively as well, like you say, there's definitely going to be room for us to exploit if we're on it. Obviously, Jared Bowen in particular, he's got a lot to play for personally right now, not just for West Ham. The Euros coming up. It's just been announced that the squads have been extended to 26 now for each club. So there's a few more spots there available. And I'd be very surprised if he doesn't go. But, that battle with even someone like Cole Palmer, who's also looking to go, and they're probably playing similar positions in the England setup under Southgate. So, yeah, I mean, he's got a lot to prove in that sense. And there's I think the goal is to finish above Chelsea right now, and just see what happens with the other results. If is a must-win game in terms of trying to finish in top 7 if we possibly can. Is very, very unlikely to happen with obviously Man City on the final day, but it's not completely dead. So that has to be the message, you know, just go for it. We have to win the match. If we don't win it and we try our best and we take the game to Chelsea, so be it. Yeah, I mean, what's your prediction for this one, Sloth? How do you see the pattern turning out? How do you see us approaching it, and what do you think the final score is going to be?
I'm not massively confident. I think, you know, it's as I said, they're very, very quick on the counter, and they have a lot of very quick attackers, and the quality they have means that I don't think they won't score. You know, we're going to have to put up a really, really strong defensive performance if we want to get 3 points, and I can't really see us doing that at the moment. I'd be surprised if there aren't goals, like multiple goals. I think maybe 2-2 is how it will play out, but I think I'm going to caveat that with saying that if Chelsea are in a rhythm and they are on it, then it could be a bit ugly.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tough game. I don't think it'll be a landslide. I think it'll be pretty competitive from our side. We usually are quite competitive when we go to Stamford Bridge. So I think that we may get a draw out of it. I'd probably say it's more likely to be kind of a 2-1 win to Chelsea. So yeah, that's probably how I'm predicting things right now. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the players approach it and how David Moyes approaches it, because there's been a lot of speculation going on right now around the manager situation. Obviously, players are playing for their future, even selfish reasons. They're playing for interest from other clubs. Like, it's inevitably going to happen. Someone like Lucas Paqueta, for example, if he wants to move to Man City, he better perform in the next 3 games. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they approach the game. And yeah, let us know what your predictions are in the comments. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. And Sloth, until the next one.
Come on, you
Come on, you
irons.
irons.